The U.S. Constitution is a scam. Part 3 by Humongous. The United States Constitution is a bombastic version of the playground bully demanding your milk money in exchange for quote-unquote protection. We're talking unexpurgated mafia intimidation here. In this literary lunacy, the U.S. government simply bequeaths itself quote-unquote powers out of thin air. Then again, what would you expect from a document written in secret by monetarily upscale slave owners? Since most people have never read the Constitution, but take for granted it has their best interests in mind, let's go page by page and break this maniacal missive down, dispelling such a fallacious belief. The document in question begins with, quote, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union," unquote. Translation: we the slave owners who wrote this document in secret. Next up we've got, quote, Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives, unquote. Who gave Congress these quote-unquote powers? Not the public. Once again, the slave owners who wrote the Constitution bestowed them from the ether. It's as if they, themselves, waved Tinkerbell's magic wand and these rights appeared. Quote, Section 2. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, unquote. The House of Representatives is chosen via secret ballot, tallied by the slave owners. Leonard Nimoy will do a cameo in the next Star Trek movie before outcomes of these polls are recorded honestly. Quote, representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union, unquote. Taxes are extortion, period. If you don't pay us what we demand, we'll take everything you have and throw you in prison. These slave owners granted themselves the power to steal from us. Quote, the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and the other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment, unquote. So, the people can't impeach? Only the slave owners, placed in positions of power, can? Being tied to a chair during a candlelit dinner with a ravenous cannibal is starting to sound more appealing than believing in the Constitution. Quote, each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may in their judgment require secrecy, unquote. No chance for suppression and lies there. If I don't want to tell you something, I now gave myself the power to declare it a, quote, necessary secret, unquote, for your own good, and I can hide whatever I want from you, the populace. How many times have we been told the people who supposedly run this non-existent thing called America must be kept in the dark for the sake of, quote, national security, unquote? Talk about a catch-all phrase in which those in control can hide whatever they want. Well, I fucked 12 camels, your wife, 3 deer, and the couch cushion you're currently sitting on, whilst shitting in that stew you just ate, as I simultaneously drained your bank account. The reason I didn't tell you this before was because such information is detrimental to national security. Quote, Section 6, the senators and representatives shall receive a compensation for their services, to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States, unquote. A quote-unquote law which the monetarily wealthy slave owners wrote. Think I'll pay myself $10 million. Potential corruption? How? Like an overexcited penis in your face, you can't see this coming? Quote, every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it becomes a law, be presented to the President of the United States, If he approves, he shall sign it, unquote. Nowhere here are the people involved in this process. Man-made laws are nothing more than threats. Do what we demand or be thrown in prison. Quote, Section 8. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for common defense and general welfare of the United States. Unquote. Congress, which is the government, just gave itself the power to tax, i.e. the right to extort from you. Quote, the Congress shall have power to provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States, unquote. When the government creates money, it's quote-unquote legal. When you do the same, it's counterfeiting? Again, I thought this was a democracy, a government by the people. If such was the case, shouldn't the money the people create be quote-unquote legal, while money anyone else produces, counterfeit? Quote, the Congress shall have power to constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court, unquote. The Supreme Court is that which created this universe, not some man-made group of pasty white psychopaths wearing stupid wigs. Quote, the Congress shall have power to provide and maintain a navy, to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces, to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, unquote. The government has just given itself the right to organize a group of people to fight other people, our own species, because they live far away, have a different skin color, and or speak a different language? Jesus fuck. Quote, the Congress shall have power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department of office thereof. Unquote. Translation: the government has granted itself the power to carry out the threats it's forcing upon you, so their enslaving document is perpetually adhered to, and none of you sheep escape the pen. Quote, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended, unless when in case of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. Unquote. You've granted me the quote-unquote privilege to a trial in one of your courts? Should I not conform to a threat you created and levied on me? Adhering to a strict regimen of Orson Welles' six-pack abs is less insane. Quote, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. Unquote. You make the laws, you make the money, and this is all done in secret? Then you expect us to believe you'll provide an accurate account of your expenditures? Ice pick lobotomies. Get your free ice pick lobotomies here. Quote, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, unquote. Except, of course, fucking president. Are plumbers regularly chauffeured around in limos? Do TV repairmen have entire jet planes at their disposal? When was the last time you were aware of high school janitors being able to take multi-million-dollar vacations on the public's dime? What about being president doesn't scream of nobility? The fact you're not referred to as a king? Quote, no state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay duty on tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in times of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state, unquote. Doesn't the above reek of the 10 Commandments? Don't worship others, show allegiance to me, etc. It's a plausible conclusion both were written by scared entities, fearful they'll be usurped of quote-unquote powers they've granted themselves.